That massive structure that is dwarfing the White House behind me isn't part of President Trump's large-scale renovation of Washington that's been underway now for months, but is instead only temporary and is what UFC has actually dubbed the Claw. It's being erected on the south lawn of the White House ahead of the UFC fight that is scheduled to be held here on June 14th on the south lawn, which happens to be President Trump's birthday and is part of the events leading up to the celebration of America's 250th birthday.
What was supposed to look like strength may already be turning into something closer to political embarrassment. Donald Trump's plan to transform the White House lawn into a UFC-style spectacle for his upcoming birthday, complete with billionaire guests, military optics, and a made-for-television atmosphere, has suddenly run into an unexpected problem: bugs. Lots of them. After UFC President Dana White reportedly revealed concerns about swarms of gnats surrounding the newly renovated Rose Garden area, critics are asking an uncomfortable question this morning. Did Trump's own White House redesign just create a very public disaster? In politics, symbolism matters more than people realize. Leaders stage events to project power and control, which is precisely why small embarrassments can suddenly become much larger political stories. If this story makes you shake your head, subscribe, stay informed, and tell me honestly, is this leadership or political theater gone too far?
Huge event, tons of people love it, but why not have it on the mall? Why not have it somewhere else that is not in the middle of the White House? And I think what it does is it reminds people just how much this administration's priority is not affordability, is not bringing down costs, it's not focused on inflation, it's not keeping the promises that they made during the campaign, but it is these grandiose, gaudy, sort of flashy, I think vulgar events that have everything to do with not honoring the American people. He's using the 250th anniversary as an excuse, but honoring Donald Trump. And it goes to Americans now thinking this is why they're so mad and why Donald Trump's poll numbers are continuing to, go in the wrong direction, because he's not focused on the priorities of the American people. He's focused on his own priorities.
The original idea was supposed to feel unmistakably Trump. Big, loud, televised. A celebration designed to project power rather than modesty. According to reports, Donald Trump has been planning a dramatic UFC-style event on White House grounds tied to his upcoming birthday, complete with elite guests, political allies, military pageantry, and the kind of made-for-camera atmosphere that has long defined Trump's political instincts. For supporters, the image makes sense. Strength, competition, patriotism, the merging of politics and entertainment into one giant cultural moment. But what nobody expected was that the story would suddenly become bugs, not metaphorical ones. Actual bugs? Because UFC President Dana White, one of Trump's closest public allies, reportedly admitted organizers are already confronting a strange logistical problem surrounding the event site. Swarms of gnats reportedly hovering around the White House lawn near the newly redesigned Rose Garden area. The solution? Industrial fans, large-scale airflow systems. An effort to stop insects from invading the Octagon during what is supposed to be one of the most visually controlled spectacles imaginable. And instantly, what looked powerful began sounding strangely ridiculous. Because politics is unforgiving when symbolism backfires, especially when the symbolism feels self-inflicted. Critics wasted little time connecting the situation to Trump's controversial redesign of parts of the White House grounds, particularly changes to the Rose Garden and surrounding outdoor areas that some landscaping experts and preservation critics argued altered natural drainage and environmental balance. Fair or unfair, perception moves quickly. And the perception suddenly spreading online feels brutal. Did Trump literally redesign the White House into a bug problem? One of the fascinating realities of political imagery is that leaders spend enormous effort staging control. That is why seemingly minor disruptions, a failed backdrop, technical malfunction, or visual embarrassment often become disproportionately damaging. That danger feels especially real because this was never supposed to be an ordinary birthday event. This was branding, political branding. The image of Trump as larger than life, still culturally dominant, still commanding attention. But politics has a cruel habit of turning spectacle into satire. And sometimes, the more carefully a moment is staged, the more devastatingly awkward it becomes when reality interferes. The bigger the political theater, the higher the risk of embarrassment. Grand events raise expectations, and when symbolism collapses, audiences often remember the failure more vividly than the intended message. And this morning, Washington may already be wondering whether the UFC spectacle is becoming something Trump never intended, a political punchline. What transformed this from a quirky logistical problem into a genuine political embarrassment was not merely the insects themselves, it was who revealed the problem. Dana White, a longtime Trump ally, a fiercely loyal supporter, someone who has repeatedly defended Trump publicly and helped reinforce Trump's image of masculine confidence and cultural dominance. That matters, because political damage often becomes more powerful when it comes from insiders rather than critics. Had a hostile media outlet reported concerns about bugs at a White House UFC event, Trump allies likely would have dismissed it as mockery or exaggeration. But when Dana White himself reportedly starts talking about installing industrial fans to stop gnats from swarming the Octagon, suddenly the story feels real, and worse, visual, very visual, because audiences immediately imagine it. A White House lawn, billionaires in expensive suits, political celebrities, military imagery, a televised UFC spectacle, and somewhere in the middle of it all, fighters swatting insects under giant industrial fans. That image is politically dangerous because ridicule spreads faster than outrage. Outrage divides people, mockery unites them, and modern politics is deeply vulnerable to embarrassment, especially social media embarrassment. Memes move faster than press releases, clips spread faster than explanations, and once a political moment becomes comedy online, regaining control becomes extremely difficult. Political reputations are often more damaged by ridicule than criticism. Leaders can survive attacks because supporters become defensive. Mockery is harder to fight because laughter spreads across political lines. There is also a deeper criticism quietly emerging beneath the humor, the optics, because critics are already asking why White House grounds are becoming a venue for billionaire entertainment and sports spectacle at a moment when Americans remain anxious about inflation, political division, and international instability. To supporters, this event signals confidence, strength, American culture. To opponents, it risks looking disconnected, excessive, even theatrical. And political theater becomes dangerous when voters begin asking whether leaders are performing instead of governing. The challenge with spectacle politics is that success looks powerful, but failure looks frivolous. The exact same event can project dominance or vanity depending entirely on how the public interprets it. And this morning, that interpretation may be shifting faster than Trump's team expected. Perhaps the most uncomfortable part of this entire story for Trump is what it symbolizes. Because critics argue this is no longer really about bugs, or UFC, or even one birthday event. It is about image. Specifically, whether Trump's political instincts increasingly favor spectacle over substance. That criticism is not new. Trump has always understood television better than almost any modern politician. He recognizes staging, optics, symbolism, crowd, energy, camera angles, the emotional power of performance. In many ways, those instincts help build his movement. But the same instincts can create vulnerability, because spectacles invite scrutiny. The bigger the show, the more people examine every detail. And suddenly, questions start emerging. Why a UFC event at the White House? Why billionaire access? Why military imagery? Why transform one of America's most symbolic public spaces into something critics describe as closer to entertainment branding than presidential leadership? For Trump supporters, the answer feels obvious. Because Trump rejects political stiffness. Because he understands modern culture. Because politics today is inseparable from media attention. Critics see something entirely different. They see vanity. A president staging himself as entertainment while serious problems continue piling up around him. And now, thanks to Dana White's comments, those criticisms suddenly come wrapped in absurdity. Because nothing weakens political grandeur faster than inconvenience, especially embarrassing inconveniences. One of the oldest political truths is that symbolism cuts both ways. Leaders often stage moments to communicate power, but once audiences detect ego, excess, or unnecessary performance, the symbolism can reverse unexpectedly. That reversal may already be happening, because what was intended to feel historic now risks feeling excessive. What was meant to project control now invites mockery, and perhaps most dangerously for Trump, this story lands during an already politically tense period. Legal battles continuing, election pressure rising, congressional fights intensifying, meaning critics now have a ready-made narrative. While serious crises grow, Trump is focused on UFC birthday optics and bug control at the White House. Fair or unfair, politics rarely rewards nuance. It rewards impressions, and impressions stick. The political danger is rarely one embarrassing story by itself. The danger comes when small moments begin reinforcing larger public doubts people already carry. Which may explain why, this morning, what sounded amusing at first is quietly becoming something more uncomfortable inside Trump world. A reminder that even carefully staged power can unravel very quickly. So this morning, the question surrounding Trump's White House UFC spectacle is no longer simply about bugs. It is about judgment. Was this an ambitious cultural moment, unfairly mocked by critics, or a political vanity project suddenly collapsing under its own symbolism? Maybe the event still succeeds. Maybe the gnats disappear. Or maybe Americans remember this less as a display of strength and more as a strange moment when political theater simply went too far. Tell me honestly, is this bold leadership or just political spectacle? Subscribe, stay informed, and keep watching because even small embarrassments can become very big political stories.